Poptimist and Charlie Kirk got assassinated. It's been really bizarre to kind of see this all unfold in real time. I had a friend that sent me a video of it, and I saw it online, and it didn't seem real at first. When I saw the video, I got sick to my stomach. This was a man that had his wife and children there. And it feels like things are just falling apart in a lot of ways. I really don't know what to think anymore. It makes me honestly very sad. The thing that keeps going in my mind is that he has these two young children who have no concept that dad's not coming home. And Charlie Kirk wasn't really someone that I necessarily sought out his content. I was familiar with who he was, but there wasn't anything that ever really jumped out to me. I thought he was an intelligent guy, but even saying that, I feel like can get me on the shit list. Now, people are so fucking divided today, and I don't really know what the solution for that is. I've been not able to sleep thinking about this. It seems to be that there is a collective malaise that's going on right now, at least here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I live, where many people are sad. And I think it's sad to also see people celebrating his death. Because again, for me, it just goes back to these two little kids, when they go to bed at night, they want to see their dad before they go to bed. And they don't know. They can't understand. They seem like they were toddler age. The video is horrific. If you haven't seen it, don't watch it. I can't in good conscience tell you to watch it. Just to see him sitting there, and as soon as you see the blood explode out of him and the way that his body hunches over, I knew he was dead in that moment. He was shot right in the neck, and I guess it blew an artery right away, which is pretty much an instant death. I don't understand how things have gotten to this point in America. Where someone that politically disagrees with you decides to plan a public execution for you, and B, to see your fellow countrymen celebrate that. And I'm a big believer in the First Amendment. It's well within their right. But I think this is a inflection point for U.S. politics. My initial gut reaction was that I really hope the shooter wasn't someone who is trans, because I knew that violence at this point is inevitable. I wish that wasn't the case, but really this whole thing started back when Luigi shot that United Healthcare CEO, and it's another situation where it was a father of two young children and a husband. And with that healthcare CEO, his dad and his mom were like a carpenter and a school teacher. Do I think his job was inherently evil? Yeah, I do. The healthcare CEO, yes. Charlie Kirk, no, he was a political commentator. Did he have influence in America with American male youth? Yeah. I guess the person who killed him, I'm not going to say the person's name, but they were 21 or 22, young white male. And it just really makes me sick to see this shit happening. I love America. I really do. I think I love the America that John Fogerty writes about. Born on the bayou, up around the bend. In my opinion, that's what America is when it's at its best. It's the mythic quality. America invented blue jeans, rock and roll, Coca-Cola. It's so many other great things. Peanut butter. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I'm trying to wrap my mind around the people that are celebrating his death. The liberals or the leftists that are trying to celebrate his death. And it scares me, not because of they believe that, because they've especially, at least since I've been an adult, that's the way it's been with people on the left. But I don't think they realize that the pendulum is about to swing back the other direction in a profound way. And that's what's really scary. It scares me to think that maybe someone with more liberal views is also going to have this happen. I mean, which it has happened. A couple of months ago, the representatives from Minnesota, or the representative from Minnesota and her husband that was killed. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but something like this is going to inspire A, copycats, and B, retribution. We've let the mentally ill take over this country. And that is not a political statement. I don't know how things got to be this bad. I don't know why people have so much hatred and disdain for someone who believes differently than them. But then again, I also do. I think Donald Trump inspires a lot of rhetoric, and I'm not even someone that hates Trump. I think there was a lot of good stuff that he has done. And even saying that out loud, I'm sure there's a bunch of people that obviously disagree with that. But I think the world is a really ugly, big, bad place. And honestly, sometimes I wish Trump was more extreme. Straight up, if I was Trump's advisor, I would tell him, send a message out to every one of our allies and every one of our adversaries that if everybody doesn't straighten up in the next 24 hours, we're going to nuke one of them. We're just going to wipe them off the face of the planet one by one. Yeah, does that lead to nuclear holocaust and the end of America? Yeah, but I guess in a way, it would also give us world peace. I don't understand either why Trump is equated to Hitler. I can understand not liking him. I feel like he is a mirror of everything that's both bad and good in America. I don't think he's solely responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, but I think the way that he speaks sometimes, it inspires it. It was the same way that I felt about January 6th. I don't think Trump caused January 6th, but I don't think he really helped it either. I think he dumped gasoline on the situation. And in this situation with Charlie Kirk and his assassination, father of two, husband, I don't think that there was a really, Trump is not directly responsible for that. But we're at such a awful fucking crossroads in America. It feels like in a lot of ways this is the end of the American empire. I mean, that moment, and we're still in the midst of it right now, is the day before 9/11 happened. And there was just a collective sadness that you can see in people's eyes and hear in their voices. Other than the people that are gleefully celebrating, the thing that also scares me is that cancel culture is probably going to swing back the other direction now. And a lot of liberals are going to experience what it's like to be canceled as an act of retribution. And I don't think that's right at all. But that's the way that human nature works. It's been about a decade now since Donald Trump has entered the public consciousness as a political figure, as the president. And there have been plenty of times where I've been hesitant to speak on this topic and hesitant to really share what I think because I'll be labeled. And there's times that I have been where I've been called a white supremacist or a Nazi or a racist or whatever the buzzword is. And no one wants to talk anymore. There's a severe lack of empathy in our society. And it makes me sad as shit, dude. It makes me sad as shit to see so many people at each other's throats. Also, there's plenty of examples where this has happened to someone on the left. Or not plenty of examples, but a lot of people were upset and they were given the whatabouts. What about that school shooting that happened in Colorado that day? What about the representative from Minnesota? What about this? What about that? I agree with all of that. That's sad as shit as well. But Charlie Kirk is a political figure, and this is unfortunately a symbolic moment when we have years and years of rhetoric calling each other all sorts of names, and there are mentally ill people out there consuming this media. If you call and compare someone to Hitler enough times, a crazy person will try to take action, and they will feel justified in doing so. I guess this guy's family turned him in. I don't know what his background is. Everything's still very new. They just caught him very recently. So I'm not sure what direction things are going there. But this is just something that it's been rolling around in my mind, dude, like haunting me. And I feel like maybe a lot of you feel the same way. Everything's so fucking political now, and I absolutely hate it. Every event is politicized. There's some cause behind it, or some ism, or some group that needs to have their voice heard, or they need to feel represented. And is it because of the internet or social media, big bad social media? You know, yes, but it's only designed for success. It's like a parasite. Whatever it is that you want to look at, you can see. What do you most interact with? Well, most people interact with their base level impulses of fear, anger, hatred. There was also that girl that was brutally murdered on the, I think, a bus or a subway or something like that, the Ukrainian immigrant. She was stabbed in the neck. That's so fucked up, dude. She came here to escape her country being invaded by Russia, and she was killed by someone. She was a refugee in this country, and she was murdered by someone. And I don't know if this is true, because it's so hard to know what is fact or what is fiction anymore. But apparently this guy had been arrested and released 14 times. I don't know if it's intentional. Like, is this intentional, what a lot of these left-leaning cities and people are doing? I don't want to believe that to be the case. And I am not someone who is Democrat or Republican. I would consider myself an independent through and through. But over the past decade of my life, as an adult being out in the world on my own, because I'm a white guy, I get clumped in with the conservatives. And the conservatives are the only one that will really have a dialogue with me, which is very unfortunate. And there's many people in my life that are both liberal and conservative. I have a lot of close friends that are across all spectrums of gender, color, ideology, whatever you want to call it. And I like having different perspectives and hearing what they have to say. I don't think that's most people now. I have found, unfortunately, that it is mostly conservatives who, if you disagree with them, they will ask you why. If I disagree with a person who is on the left or is more liberal in their views, they will call me names. They will accuse me of being things that I don't really think I am. Who knows? Maybe I am. Maybe I am a racist. I don't think I am, but it breaks my heart, dude. It breaks my heart because I just want to talk and I want to hear people out. But I feel like for a lot of the time, to have a dissenting view from mainstream society, which is only further added this schism with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, father of 2 young children and a husband. It's only getting deeper, and people want to say, well, he deserved it. You know, he said that gun deaths are worth it. I understand the irony, and I get what you're saying, and it's well within your right to say and believe everything and to feel. I don't think those people should get fired for posting that shit on social media, though. Do I think it's in poor taste? Yeah. And you know what? There's not much that I would consider to be in poor taste. If you've listened to the show and you understand what it is that I do and what it is that I make, I think you can totally get where I'm coming from. There's not much where I'm like, that's too far even for me. But who knows? You know, I really don't know where we go from here when we can no longer speak to one another in a civil way. The breakdown that has happened, I fear that there is no way to repair it. If there is a hell below, we are all going to go. That's a Curtis Mayfield song. If you don't know it, you should check it out. I want to believe in the good in people. I really like that Superman movie that came out because it was positive, dude. It was positive about humanity. But it's really hard to see the forest through the trees right now. I just wish that we could all show each other love, dude. I really do. When I was a kid, the liberals were the cool kids, you know. It was the Jon Stewarts and the Bill Maher's of the world, who both, by today's standards, are also considered conservatives, which is fucking wild to me. I just want to stop with the hatred. What do we got to do? What do we got to do to end the fucking violence, dude? I don't know if there's anything we can do. I think we have gotten to such an inflection point that it's only going to get worse from here. I predict that there will be, and I'm not endorsing this, but I predict before the end of the year we'll have at least 2 other assassinations. Maybe one on someone liberal, maybe one on someone conservative. I don't know. But we've devolved into a third world ideology. And then you look at everything that's been happening with the immigrants, the Mexican immigrants. that are here. And I got no bones to pick with them. I think if they're here, they're trying to improve their lives and love their families, work a job just like all of us are trying to do. It's the same shit. You come to America, you believe in the dream, and I want that goddamn dream to be true, but I think it's dead. I think it's over with. I just look at the stats of the average home buyer now. I think it's 56 or maybe even 68 or something like that. Insane. Baby boomers have completely destroyed this country's economy. And people millennial age and younger are told, well, don't knock it off with the avocado toast and knock it off with the iced coffee, whatever it is. To that, I say fuck you. The boomers you can't communicate with is very rare. There are people out there that are open to chatting, but for the most part, they're just gonna tell you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And I'm a big believer in that too, to a certain degree. But everybody starts off at a certain line in life. We all start off at a certain line in life. Sometimes you're 15 yards back. Sometimes you're right on the starting line. It's tragic what is happening to America. It is tragic what happened to Charlie Kirk. It is tragic what is happening to young people. The dating divide is awful out there. I don't know if you've been out there lately, but it seems to be a giant schism amongst men and women as well. And for that, I think it's a couple different things. One, I think now that things are mostly equal in our society, women don't need to be with men in order to have any kind of safety or well-being. They can have their own jobs, and they don't necessarily want a family, and there's nothing wrong with that. I will tell you that right off. I don't know if I will ever get married and have kids. When I was younger, like 18, 19, I was like, yeah, maybe by the time I'm 30, I'll want that. And then I got to 25 and I was like, no, I don't want to get married and have kids. And then I got to 28 and no, I don't want to get married and have kids. And now I'm 33 and never say never, but I would be surprised if it's ever something that I came around to wanting. I like living my life as it is. And I think a lot of young ladies out there feel the same way. I'm just going to make that assumption that they want to actually be with someone who respects and values them, which I totally get. Online dating is definitely demoralizing. For young men, I think many of them want to get married and have kids, and they want to have the white picket fence and be a provider, but that's outdated. It's an outdated idea. Now, if World War III comes along, and if the draft comes back, I foresee gender roles switching right back to where they were in the 1950s. Because, again, that's how human nature works. No one wants to die if they don't have to. Die like Charlie Kirk, father of 2 young children and a husband, murdered, actually. And again, I'm not someone who really consumed any of his content or even... Like, I would scroll past it and maybe chuckle every now and then, but that was about as deep as it thought as I gave it. I saw that South Park did a parody of him recently, which I didn't see that episode. I guess that episode got pulled. I would really hate to see censorship start to happen now. Don't even fucking get me started on the Epstein files, dude. I don't think there was any conspiracy theory in regards to this particular event with Charlie and his murder, but it's definitely a distraction from people wanting fucking answers. You have all of these old fucks that are in Congress and in the Senate who are completely out of touch with the world that they are living in now. Because their world is the same as always. They're rich. They don't have to worry about their bills. They make their salary, and then somehow they leave the office as millionaires after, I don't know what it is, and maybe it's $250,000 or something like that, which is definitely, I imagine, puts you in the top 1% of America, let alone the world, as far as salaries go. Everyone's broke and everyone's pissed off. And it's really been that way since COVID. COVID was another inflection point. Trump was another inflection point. 9/11, which just happened. I was in the 4th grade when 9/11 happened. That really kicked off the tone for the rest of our lives, for the kind of America that we were going to live in. The age of paranoia started. The Patriot Act. Doesn't that just sound so good on paper? The Patriot Act. If you don't support this, you are not a patriot. And then here's where my biggest beef is with liberals and the left in general. They will criticize Trump all day long, which I really look, totally. I get it. I'm right there with you. First Amendment, free speech. You're able to say whatever you want. None of them ever, this is one of my biggest beefs with Trump. No one ever brings up the fact that Edward Snowden is fucking living in Russia after revealing that our government was spying on us. Spying on us. It makes me sick, dude. It makes me furious. And when Trump didn't pardon Edward Snowden, that was the moment that I personally turned my back on him forever, where I said, I will never vote for this man ever again. And I stuck to it. I did not vote for him in 2024. I voted for him in 2020. Maybe that'll get me banned from East Nashville, but yeah, that was the thing that really did it for me. Again, the January 6th thing as well. January 6th, Trump didn't cause it, but he dumped gasoline on it. And Trump is a genius when it comes to showmanship and sales and persuasion. And this is not in defense or in praise of him. This is just laying it out here. Trump is really, really good at riling people up. He speaks in a way that is a communication style for most people. And there are a lot of absolute, definitely undeniable people that support Trump that are racist. Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to argue against that point at all. I definitely believe that. But I also know a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump that would never be caught dead in a MAGA hat. That would never go to a rally or anything like that. And maybe if you're someone who's on the left, you think, well, it's just bad enough that they voted for him. You know, that's probably why we got to the point where we are in America. I want to understand truly how Donald Trump is a Nazi. And I always do a gut check. And I try to wrap my mind around it. The whole thing with Alligator Alcatraz made me sick to my fucking stomach. Like, that whole deal, them rounding up ICE agents and getting people out of the country, which, what I really think that is, couple different things. One, AI is about to replace everybody. They're trying to get a bunch of the illegal immigrants out of America so they can force us all to work the jobs that most white Americans are unwilling to work now. They think they're too good for it. I don't know. You can take what you want from that. Maybe it's a conspiracy theory. Maybe it's not. But I think there's a lot of people who turn their noses up and think that they deserve a college degree or that they're too good for trades, either being a plumber or an electrician or something like that. And I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, how's it working out with the liberal arts degree? Not good. Not good in general. I have no other skills. This is the only skill I fucking have, is being able to sit behind a microphone or play music. I have skills that most people, like, they go to college for, and that's not in defense or praise of myself or anything like that. But I was too stupid to understand that someone would actually give me money to go to school and give me a predatory loan. If I understood that that was an actual thing that I could do, I probably would have done it. But I wasn't aware. I was kind of explained it to me, but I didn't understand. So I was like, oh, well, you're just going to give me money? And something didn't just seem right about it, because I didn't even think that was, a thing to be able to do. Which, probably the greatest financial decision of my life was not knowing that. I don't know where we're going, dude. I feel lost right now. I feel heartbroken right now. I feel angry and confused. And I just wish people could see eye to eye, but I know that's never going to be the case. It's never going to be the case that we all sing Kumbaya. Seeing that video of the blood splattering out of Charlie Kirk's neck is going to radicalize a lot of young men, and that is very, very terrifying. We were already on a conservative. It already swung back conservative when Trump won. And I think the kind of person that is liberal and espouses their views and kind of just barks them at you instead of having a conversation, a lot of people are annoyed with that. I think I don't know what's going to happen to those sorts of people. Are they just going to get more radicalized? Are these radicalized right-leaning young men just going to try to start fighting these left-leaning liberals? Like, what possesses a person to get a hold of a gun, either by purchasing it at a store or illegally, inscribing it with political leftist slogans, and shoot someone in the neck and kill them in front of their family? And I don't know how many people were there. I imagine at least 1,000, maybe more than that. What possesses someone to do that? It wouldn't shock me if this guy was on some kind of medication or had trouble with depression or mental illness in the past, but that's not a conversation that anybody wants to have either. And this is not just a leftist thing. It's also a right-wing thing as well, and it's going to just keep happening more and more frequently. All that this did was it gave someone an idea when they saw. it went beyond viral. It was a collective moment in the style of 9/11, rather. A collective moment in COVID, but COVID was more like a pot. We were like frogs in a pot where the heat just kept getting turned up. All of a sudden we were underneath. I definitely have a lot of opinions about COVID and everything that happened with that too, but it's like it doesn't even matter. But here goes. I don't know if COVID was intentional. I mean, at this point, we can universally agree that it was leaked from a lab, but probably not universally. I actually take that back. But do I believe that it was leaked from a lab? Yeah, I do. 100%. Intentionally? I don't know. Straight up, I don't know. Frankly, China, who is our biggest adversary, it came from their country, which the Chinese government is, they're fucking commies, dude. That's the other thing I don't fucking understand. How are we so cool with communism and socialism now? Isn't there a world history full of times that it hasn't worked out? And that all that happens is a dictator rises up and takes whatever the center stage position is and imposes it on everybody else while they get to live up in the castle on the hill. That's human nature. And I don't, like, communism and socialism are evil. Capitalism is also evil, but I do feel like at least I'm able to drink Dr. Pepper with capitalism. At least I'm able to own a car with capitalism. I'm able to have my bass guitars and play music with capitalism. But getting back to COVID, there was a real ugliness that I felt like people were able to just start coming out with on the whole. And it started happening in 2015, 2016. But with COVID, and I feel like a lot of people forget, we're just going to talk locally here for a second about what happened. I personally got the vaccine. And it was because I wanted people to shut the fuck up. I was just so sick of getting questioned if I was going to go play a show. Are you vaccinated? Are you not vaccinated? Are you vaccinated? I had someone dime me out to another one of our friends who got pretty upset with me. And it made me feel real bad that I wasn't vaccinated. But that person is honestly a fucking coward. Not the person who got upset, but the person who dimed me out. You're no different than the kind of person that would have ratted on Anne Frank, honestly. Not comparing myself to Anne Frank, but the sentiment is there. I think you can understand. Is that wrong to say, or is it wrong to feel? I don't know. I really don't know. Is it ugliness within myself to feel or think that? I don't know. I'm working through it as I go. But I can tell you, it felt like I had a label stitched onto me that said other, and that was not a very good feeling. But that is what human beings do. You are in our tribe or you are against our tribe. There was many people during COVID, some of these clubs in East Nashville that I've had the pleasure of playing at very many times, a lot of you motherfuckers get amnesia. I will say that. You get amnesia because you said if someone was unvaccinated, they would never be able to play at your club again. Well, you back the fuck down. Or it's not even that you back down, you forgot. Because you were in the moment. And you were a coward in the moment. And you were going with what the herd was saying in the fucking moment. Ugly. Sad. I feel like many people in Nashville want to fight the establishment and they want to fight the authority, but they are the establishment and the authority because they held all of the social currency. Because again, if you had views that were even right of center, like I would say that's probably where I would fall, right of center, you were all the way far right in their view. I've been pretty consistent about my beliefs. Of course, they've grown and changed since the time that I was in my early 20s. But what really shocks me is how short of a memory many of these people have. It would surprise many of you to figure out that you're not well liked and that everybody doesn't hold the same views that you do. And it surprises me that it surprises you, but then again, it doesn't shock me at all. There's a ton of people that come up to me and will tell me about whatever it is, the news story of the week, whether they're right or left, and they assume that I automatically agree with them. On one hand, because I'm an artist and a creative type, so that must mean I must be a liberal. Two, if it's another white guy, then he thinks this guy's another white guy, so he must also be a Republican who believes in God, guns, and America. The thing that I always can't rock and roll with the right-wing people is the religion piece. I really wish that I could just either become completely religious and be completely right-wing or become a leftist completely. What's interesting about the left to me as well is that it is a religion now. They are religious zealots without a God. And this is coming from someone who has no God. If you don't have a God, I think you can replace it with very nefarious things. And your music can be your, let's call it a higher power. It can be your higher power. Or religion can be your higher power. Or drugs can be a higher power. Or porn can be a higher power. What is the master that you want to serve? And when it comes to a lot of people on the left, they use their views, their puritanical, tyrannical views, to be able to lord over many different kinds of people. They want to tell everybody the way to live. And right-wingers do that as well. They do that with religion. Some other things that I don't fucking rock and roll with when it comes to religion is the pro-life thing. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I've had I won't say many, but a handful of women that are close to me that confided in me at one point that they had to get an abortion. And when they shared that with me, it was one, I was honored that they felt comfortable enough to share such vulnerable and painful news with me. Two, the women that I know who had to get abortions, I know it lives with them until this day. So when I see the right-wing zealots protesting a place like Planned Parenthood, it just leaves a bad fucking taste in my mouth. Can't rock and roll with that. I had a friend, and I think this is such a true statement. I won't out him on this, but he said that a lot of the right-wing Republicans are pro-lifers, so to speak. They're not pro-life, they're pro-birth, because what happens to that baby when it comes out into the world and you don't want to give it welfare? You don't want to take care of it. You don't want to try and give it a better life. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's what we're told. And some folks do. Some folks are able to overcome adversity. Most are going to stick a needle in their arm or stick powder up their nose or get a gun and try and rob someone. Or D, all of the above. And that to me is sad as fuck. I don't know how you fix that in America. I feel like I've been asking more questions today than that I don't have solutions for than anything. But it's all been stuff that's been rolling around in my mind since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, father of 2 young children and a husband, was brutally gunned down. And you're going to say, well, Taylor, what about the representative in Minnesota? Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. What about those kids that also got killed that day at school? Also heartbreaking. Charlie Kirk was a conservative superstar, so he was out on the forefront of news. If it bleeds, it leads. He's going to be turned into a martyr. I mean, for all eternity, he's going to be remembered as an American hero. You can agree or disagree with that, and that is not even me making a personal statement about do I think he should or not. Because, again, I really wasn't familiar with a lot of his content. I just thought this is a right-wing religious guy, and it's not really someone that I can relate to. He lived the opposite life of me. He was married with kids and went to church every Sunday. I have no desire to do that. But that is his right as an American to live that way. We have no longer live and let live in America. We want to tell the other person how to live. Our personal liberties are constantly infringed upon, whether it is the right or the left. It doesn't really matter what side of the aisle someone is on. They're going to tell you how to live, because that is human nature 101. There's always going to be someone telling you to go to hell or to get fucked, or that they're offended by the way that you live. And I'm aware I've been ragging a lot today on people with political beliefs. But good. I never really go this in depth and talk about what I actually think. Because honestly, I don't always know how to eloquently explain what it is that I feel. It's so confusing. Because again, when I was growing up, the people that I looked up to were the left-leaning people. I was a huge Green Day fan. I had a poster of Barack Obama in my room. I was a junior when he got elected. And Obama, I mean, he's just a cool guy. You know? Seems like the kind of dude you can have a beer with. That's how you win the presidency. People are talking about 2028. They're also talking about the midterms. What does this mean for the midterms? We'll get to that in a second. 2028, is it going to be J.D. Vance? Because, again, like, if I could make a image of the exact kind of Republican that I don't fuck with, it would be J.D. Vance. The moment that Trump picked him, I was like, ugh. Didn't like him right away. I had already knew about him, and I knew about his story, which, hey, that's great. You know what? He grew up poor. That at the end of the day, he's a politician. Maybe he came from a similar world and a similar background to where I came from. But he went to Harvard or Yale or some bullshit like that. I didn't go there. No one I know went there. Maybe someone you know went there. There's an elitism in this country that's defined by money. Is money the root of all evil? I don't know. Does it cause evil? Yeah. Does it feel evil when you don't have it? Yes. Yes, it does. And I think many people now have never felt more discontent with the way things are. The American empire is crumbling. It is on its last legs. Is there a way forward? I really don't see what it is unless aliens come down, but even then, that would probably be politicized. Here's another thing that annoys me about Republicans. They're referring to aliens as angels and demons now. And I just gotta tell you, that shit irritates the fuck out of me. Is there a God? I don't know. Based on the way that the world is, it seems like there isn't, rather. And I think many of you should be hoping that there isn't a God. Keep on dreaming. I'll see you real soon.